My name's Alex Warrens. I am a web developer for a cybersecurity company called SecureWorks. They're owned by Dell. And before this, I was an intelligence analyst for about 10 years, and then made a career change into web development around 2018, 2019. And I've been doing that ever since. Web development, I probably wouldn't say I'm an expert in anything nuclear related. I got to work on non-proliferation topics, but usually learned from the experts and then just added my 2 cents kind of on the side. So I wouldn't qualify myself as a nuclear expert. I got my undergraduate degree in international relations and graduated right after the financial crisis and wanted to work in government, which was convenient because government was kind of the only person hiring at the time. So after I graduated in 2009, I started at the Defense Intelligence Agency in DC and kind of worked on a variety of things for the first few years before sort of bringing the focus mostly onto issues related to Iran. And over the remaining 7 years or so that I was there, it was mostly Iran related. And then sometimes I got to work on non-proliferation related topics as well. And that was great because I learned sort of that I loved non-proliferation and nuclear issues. And I got to learn from a lot of really smart people in that time, but I didn't want to stay in the intelligence community long term. So I started to look for other things that might be interesting to me, and I found coding, and I really love to code. And so that was a career transition that felt it was challenging, but it was one that I was confident was the right move to make. So I made the jump from intelligence analyst to web developer, and then sort of on the side, which is the project that I contributed, I like to kind of look for ways that those two can overlap. So I still love non-pro stuff and I love coding. So I just try to code stuff related to non-proliferation. And I think that was kind of the genesis of this project too, was just that I thought it would be a fun thing to try to make. And it turns out there aren't that many current gas centrifuge enrichment calculators. So I think it was pretty cool. It's important because the consequences of not caring are pretty high. I think it's hard for the general public to sort of connect with. I think nuclear weapons are something that's maybe a little easier to connect with because it sort of feels like, especially lately, there's sort of like more of an understood threat, or it's easier to gain an understanding of the threat. And it's harder, I think, to get people to care about non-proliferation and even harder to care about gas centrifuge enrichment. Like it's just, they're sort of wonky topics that I think a lot of people have a hard time caring about. There's also a lot of other things to care about, and so I don't know if everyone needs to care about it, but I think it's good that there are people who are interested, and I think it's important for those people to have resources so they can become proficient in the field and so they can advocate policy and educate the public wherever they can. I don't know if there's more than there has been before, but it certainly feels like from climate change to nuclear issues to in America, gun violence, healthcare, like there's just so many almost catastrophic issues that we have to think about. It's to add more is, I think, challenging for people when they also have to go, about their daily lives. Like I don't think I'm going to get, my mom to care about gas centrifuge enrichment, but I can still talk about it and bore people with it as best I can and explain why I think it's important. And I think we kind of have to rely on those informal networks. And I think resources like this are really helpful because you don't know what is going to connect with somebody. I'm not an engineer. I don't have a scientific background like that. But I was fortunate enough to learn from people who were really smart and who sort of gave me the rudimentary tools to understand things like, at least understand news or things related to the nuclear deal or arms control agreements that come up. It depends on the day. So sometimes I'll be, I got to follow the Iran nuclear deal closely, and so that is often an issue that I read about and that I care a lot about. More broadly, issues of nonproliferation generally, and then I've got little kids, and so I think about climate change, I think about gun violence, I think about gun violence in schools, and then I have parents and in-laws, and I think about the cost of healthcare, and so it's just there are a lot of these major issues. I don't know how to pick one. I guess top climate change, I think, would probably be my biggest concern, because it also feels like the one that it's the easiest one to do nothing about, because the consequences, though catastrophic, feel far away. They feel sort of removed, and sort of feels like no matter how many alarms are going off and how many warnings people get, it's just humanity isn't doing anything to avert disaster.